Vance now appears poised to jump ship after Iran is widely seen as having won against Trump in the war, raising the prospect of a dramatic break at the very moment the administration is under maximum pressure. This would be another major jolt to the Trump administration following Tulsi Gabbard's resignation, deepening the sense of turmoil and suggesting that key figures are losing faith in the current course. The US vice president could become the fifth senior member to walk away from Trump and his inner circle, underscoring just how many high-level departures have rocked the team during the ongoing conflict. Any hope of a 2028 presidential bid for Vance may now be fading, as reports of bitter infighting gripping Trump's team amid the war make it harder for him to chart an independent, future-focused political path. The US vice president is reportedly becoming increasingly isolated within the Trump administration, with fewer allies in the inner circle as policy rifts and political scandals pile up around the White House. Vance's non-interventionist stance on Iran has put him at odds with Trump, according to the Daily Mail, creating a sharp divide between his preference for restraint and the president's more aggressive approach to the conflict. There are reports that Vance may even skip a 2028 presidential bid to avoid being closely linked to recent controversies, suggesting he is wary of how today's decisions could damage his long-term political brand. Those controversies range from the fallout over the Epstein files and rising fuel prices in the US to the broader consequences of the Iran war and other crises now weighing heavily on the administration. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio is said to be gaining influence with Trump, consolidating his role as a key voice on foreign policy and potentially eclipsing Vance in the president's inner circle. These developments come just weeks after Tulsi Gabbard resigned as Director of National Intelligence, a high-profile departure that added to the sense of instability inside Trump's national security team. Gabbard announced on May 22 that she planned to step down, citing her husband's bone cancer diagnosis as the reason, and framing her exit as a deeply personal decision rather than a political break. She is the fourth member of Trump's cabinet to depart during his second presidential term, highlighting how frequently senior figures have left key posts in the current administration. President Trump fired Pam Bondi from her role as Attorney General in April 2026, a move that further reshuffled the top ranks of the U.S. justice system and stirred controversy in Washington. Lori Chavez de Rima also left her position as Labor Secretary in April 2026, creating another vacancy in the cabinet and fueling questions about continuity in domestic policy. Meanwhile, Kristi Noem stepped down from her role as Homeland Security Secretary in March 2026, removing yet another prominent figure from Trump's inner circle on security and immigration issues. At the same time, the Trump administration is facing growing backlash over its efforts to pursue what critics call a softer Iran deal, with opponents accusing the White House of backtracking after its earlier hardline stance. Donald Trump is reportedly facing intense backlash from senior Republicans over his evolving diplomatic approach toward Iran recently. Financial Times reported growing criticism against Trump's efforts to negotiate what opponents describe as a softer Iran agreement framework. Republican critics accused Trump of offering Tehran dangerous concessions while simultaneously extending fragile ceasefire arrangements across the region politically. Reports suggest Iran could receive sanctions relief and access frozen overseas assets in exchange for renewed nuclear negotiations soon. The proposed framework reportedly allows Iran to dilute or relocate enriched uranium instead of surrendering it directly to Washington authorities. Critics inside Trump's own party warned the agreement could ultimately strengthen Iran militarily and strategically across the Middle East region. Senator Lindsey Graham warned a softer Iran deal could fuel instability throughout Lebanon, Iraq, and the wider Gulf region. Lindsey Graham said, and I quote, "If it is perceived in the region that a deal with Iran allows the regime to survive and become more powerful over time, we will have poured gasoline on the conflicts in Lebanon and Iraq. I personally am a skeptic of the idea that Iran cannot be denied the ability to terrorize the Strait and the region cannot protect itself against Iranian military capability," unquote. Ted Cruz called the proposed Iran agreement a disastrous mistake, warning Tehran could still retain uranium enrichment capabilities afterward. Ted Cruz said, and I quote, "If the result of all that is to be an Iranian regime, still run by Islamists who chant death to America now receiving billions of dollars, being able to enrich uranium and develop nuclear weapons and having effective control over the Strait of Hormuz, then that outcome would be a disastrous mistake," unquote. Mounting criticism from Republican allies reportedly increased pressure on Trump to restore a tougher military posture against Iran immediately. Growing Republican backlash may have influenced Washington's decision to resume strikes despite ongoing ceasefire and diplomatic negotiations with Tehran. Even as peace talks continued, American forces launched fresh self-defense strikes inside southern Iran on May 25. A CENTCOM spokesperson confirmed the military operation, with Fox News reporting details surrounding the latest American action. Captain Tim Hawkins said, and I quote, "U.S. forces conducted self-defense strikes in southern Iran today to protect our troops from threats posed by Iranian forces. Targets included missile launch sites and Iranian boats attempting to emplace mines. U.S. Central Command continues to defend our forces while using restraint during the ongoing ceasefire." Unquote. The strikes reportedly targeted Bandar Abbas, Iran's critical naval hub and a major strategic military installation nationwide. The escalation followed Trump's earlier declaration announcing major combat operations against Iran beginning from February 28 this year. Washington claimed the operation specifically targeted threats posed against American troops, military assets, and regional strategic interests abroad. CENTCOM insisted the strikes were defensive measures designed to deter further attacks and protect American regional military operations. The renewed confrontation unfolded while Trump simultaneously pushed diplomatic efforts aimed at securing a broader nuclear agreement with Tehran.
We took that over in one day, and we lost no one. In Operation Epic Fury, we lost 13 wonderful souls, wonderful, special people. These incredible men and women gave their lives to ensure that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror will never have a nuclear weapon. Oh, and they won't. They will never have a nuclear weapon. I'm sure you know that.
This came as Washington maintained a blockade on Iran until negotiations conclude one way or the other, according to Trump. Trump also signaled a softer tone regarding Iran's enriched uranium stockpile through a recent Truth Social post online. The US president said he prefers Iran's uranium be destroyed locally or under strict international supervision elsewhere internationally. Reports suggest Iran is seeking guarantees from China and may consider relocating enriched uranium stockpiles there for security. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "The enriched uranium will either be immediately turned over to the United States to be brought home and destroyed or preferably, in conjunction and coordination with the Islamic Republic of Iran, destroyed in place or at another acceptable location, with the Atomic Energy Commission, or its equivalent, being witness to this process and event." Unquote. Trump is reportedly facing mounting midterm pressure and backlash from loyalists over pursuing a softer diplomatic approach toward Iran recently. Trump's Iran diplomacy triggered rare and increasingly public divisions within the Republican Party over national security and foreign policy strategies. Senior Republican figures openly challenged Trump's approach, accusing the administration of appeasing Tehran despite previous hardline promises publicly. Senator Tom Tillis questioned why Washington would suddenly tolerate Iranian nuclear material after earlier claims of military success recently. Political tensions intensified as polls reportedly showed declining public confidence in Trump's handling of both war and economic challenges. The White House defended Trump aggressively, insisting no American president had taken a tougher stance against Iran's nuclear ambitions historically. Marco Rubio rejected criticism entirely, arguing Trump would never support any nuclear agreement benefiting Tehran strategically or militarily afterward.